Hey everybody, how's it going? We're going to begin the month of October, so we're going to be playing a game in the horror type genre, and that game is going to be the original Diablo. This was the game that got me into PC gaming to begin with, so yeah. I mean, I played other games before Diablo, like Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, the original Duke Nukem, and a few others, but this was the game that convinced me that PC gaming was the way to go in the future, as you couldn't get this game on any other platform. I mean, it did come out for the PlayStation 1, but other than that, this was the optimal way to play the game. So we're going to begin. We get a choice of 3 character classes to play as: the warrior, the rogue, who's an archer-type character that can disarm traps, and a sorcerer, which obviously is the spellcaster, the thing. For this playthrough, we're going to be a warrior. We're going to choose an appropriate name for our warrior. Let's see if it'll fit. Let's go, I'm thinking Darquan Duror. I think that works. Let's go. And now we're in the town of Tristram. I'm the guy in the middle with the sword and shield, the warrior, which we've called Darquan, and I've got the item repair skill. Now what this does is you can repair items. You'll see they got durability on them. There's a short sword with a durability of 20, my buckler at 10, and a club with 20. Now, you don't really want to use this skill all that much, since it will reduce the overall durability, and there's a blacksmith in town that for some gold can repair it for you pretty much for that price. I start with 100 gold. So let's go around this town, the town of Tristram, where we start the game, and you'll see there's some people to talk to. There's Pepin the healer. We go to him, obviously, when we need healing. Cain the elder, he's the wise man of town who knows just about everything there is to know. Up here, we'll find Jillian the barmaid. You can talk to her for some information, but for the most part, she's not really that helpful. If I wander all the way over here to the far left, head up this way. There he is. There's Wirt the peg-legged boy. And this guy...
Over here!
We can talk to him. He'll usually have a bunch of funny comments about some of your quests and such. Usually telling you, if you're not interested in buying something, go away. Which is what he has here. Yeah, he usually sells a single item that's usually of decent quality, and you can pay him 50 gold to look at it. And then if you want, you can buy the item. We're not going to look at his item right now, because 50 gold would be half of what I've already got. Over here, there's Ogden the tavern owner. We're actually going to talk to him.
Thank goodness you returned. Much has changed since you lived here, my friend. All was peaceful until the Dark Riders came and destroyed our village. Many were cut down where they stood, and those who took up arms were slain or dragged away to become slaves, or worse. The church at the edge of town has been desecrated and is being used for dark rituals. The screams that echo in the night are inhuman, but some of our townsfolk may yet survive. Follow the path that lies between my tavern and the blacksmith's shop to find the church and save who you can. Perhaps I can tell you more if we speak again. Good luck.
Alrighty. Over here is the guy I was talking about before. This is the guy we'll probably be visiting the most often in the game. This is Griswold, the blacksmith.
What can I do for you?
This is the guy that sells basic and premium weapons and armor. You can sell items to him. Like if I want, I can sell the club I've got to him. I'll hang on to the club for now. I'll demonstrate what its use is once we get to the actual dungeon. And we can repair our items here, which costs gold to do, but in the dungeons we'll find plenty of things to sell to Griswold to pay for our repairs. Hence why we won't really need the repair skill all that much. One more person in town. This is another merchant who is much more important if you're playing a magical-based class like the sorcerer. Adria the Witch.
I sense a soul in search of answers.
Just like Griswold, she can buy and sell items, except the items she sells you are of magical nature. So you see she sells potions of mana, and I think she also has scrolls and books, and you read books to learn magic spells. You can sell items to her. I can sell my 2 potions of healing, but I'm going to need those, so I'm not going to sell those. But you can also recharge staves. Staves can have magical charges on them, and if you're playing a sorcerer, you can recharge the staff in pretty much the same manner as the warrior can repair items. And that's pretty much everybody there is to meet in town. There's some cows up here you can mess around with for some amusing dialogue. But for now, let's get to the meat of the game. We're going to head up here. This cathedral was once the home of Leoric, the king, you know, until he went crazy and his own knights and priests ended up having to kill him. There's a wounded townsman here, so Ogden was right. Some of our townsfolk may have survived.
Please, listen to me. The Archbishop Lazarus. He led us down here to find the lost prince. The bastard led us into a trap. Now everyone is dead, killed by a demon he called the Butcher. Avenge us! Find this butcher and slay him, so that our souls may finally rest.
Your death will be avenged.
Alright, by talking to this guy, we've actually gotten our first quest, the Butcher. And he mentioned an Archbishop Lazarus. He'll be more important later on.
The sanctity of this place has been fouled.
Now we're inside the dungeon itself. You'll see Darquan has drawn his sword and shield. We're gonna turn on the map here, and we're gonna start running around. Now, there should be monsters to fight. Go through this door. A skeleton. When I see a skeleton, I'm gonna switch to my club. Go block some of the skeleton's attacks with his shield while I switch to the club. See, the club is nice against skeletons because mace-type weapons do more damage against undead. Basically skeletons and zombies. That's a fallen one, which is a small, like, imp-like creature. So we're gonna switch back to our sword and cut him down. I mean, you don't have to do this, but you don't have to switch weapons like that to deal with the undead. I just wanted to demonstrate that the club would be more effective against the undead than my sword. I found a Book of Charged Bolt, but I doubt I can read it. You'll see it requires a stat of 25 magic to read. There's another Book of Charged Bolt. And a Scroll of Healing. Now I can use this. Some items don't have a magical requirement, like the scroll that just got added to my belt next to my potions of healing. What I can do is I'll switch over to the scroll, and now if I need healing, I can just simply cast healing with right-click. Of course, in town, you can talk to Pepin, who can also heal you. Take out that scavenger. You'll see some more fallen ones in here. We're going to go in. We're just going to start chopping them up. Now, normally running up to enemies in groups like this and slicing at them would be a bad idea, but fallen ones will actually run away when you kill one of them, so as long as you keep killing, you can't get surrounded by them. See? And if you get surrounded by enemies, it's probably already over. Unless you got a lot of armor or have plenty of healing potions ready. But there'll be some tricks that you can do in Diablo that will let you basically reduce the chances of that happening. Scroll of Inferno. I can't cast that either because I don't have the magic requirement. There's some rags. I think I automatically equip them. No? That's my first armor. Just some moldy old rags to wear. It'll do for now. I'll find better armor later. We are just starting out. In fact, I just found a cape. I go to my inventory. Let's see, the cape gives me an armor of 4 like the rags, but has better durability. So we'll wear that instead of the rags. Some skeletons in here. Switch back to the club for them. There we go. Have I mentioned that I love the soundtrack in this game yet? You've probably heard the music while I was in Tristram, meeting all the NPCs. And you probably are listening to this theme in the dungeon right now. There's a door up here. Now, for the most part, you want to basically fully clear most of these levels. That one dropped a dagger. Don't think it'll compare to my sword, but there's another sword. Health is looking fine. I think I've got plenty of it. Now, I'm gonna look at my stats screen as soon as I can. You can blow up these barrels or strike them with your sword or other weapon to break them open. Some of them can explode or have a skeleton inside, so you gotta be careful of that. Yeah, I've got a max of 70 life and only 10 mana since I start with only 10 magic. So yeah, with this character, you're focused primarily on getting up close to enemies and hitting them with your weapon. This doesn't mean you can't branch off and do magic and use a bow and arrow and stuff. In fact, with our first level up, I'm actually going to put all the points into dexterity. You'll see why. When I leveled up, I got all my health back, too. And you'll see it's a little harder to kill the skeleton captain with my sword. There was a saber in this sarcophagus. There's zombies approaching. I'm going to club them. There we go. Oh, another zombie. Alright. Inventory's getting a little full, as you can see, so I'm going to actually head back into Tristram and sell some of these items, and I'll show that off. For this playthrough, I'll probably skip a lot of the time I spend in town, like selling items and the like. I might show off if I buy a decent item, or, you know, that kind of thing, but for the most part, you won't have to see me walk all the way into town. I have talked to Kane to have all my items identified and then sell all my items.
Hello, my friend.
Unless something
Stay
real
a while
important
and
happens.
listen.
But as you can see, that cap I found is magical, and I can identify it to see what effect it has. So we identify it. It's a fine cap, which gives a 27% increase to armor, although that's not too useful because right now an armor class of 1 on it means it's not that much better than it would be. But I'll put it on.
Well, what can I do for you?
We'll talk to Griswold. We'll sell off other items we have, like the rags, the dagger, the 2 short swords. I'm going to hang on to the saber since it's got a... It's a little better than the short sword. It has less minimum damage but higher maximum damage, so we'll hang on to that. Lastly, we'll spend our gold to repair all my gear, including the new saber I found. Because Griswold can repair it without reducing its durability, so yeah. Now I can switch to this cool saber I found. I'm gonna come up here to where this empty house is. Oops, I paused the game by mistake. I'm gonna take the scrolls I have here. In fact, I'll take the 2 books of charge bolt. Well, what I was going to say is I can stash items just by throwing them down in town, and near that house is the best place to do it, and that'll become clear as to why later. But for now, let's head over to Adria. I think I'll actually sell the books and scrolls I found.
I sense a soul in search of answers.
Yeah, you'll see I can get 250 gold for each book of charge bolt I sell her. There we go. I won't need magic yet. I am going to want to invest in magic so I can learn some spells, because healing can be a spell. Speaking of healing, I forgot to talk to Pepin.
What ails you, my friend?
You can talk to him, and you can receive healing from him anytime you want. And here's a fun fact. Pepin the Healer is voiced by Paul Eiding. He's the same guy that voices Colonel Campbell in the Metal Gear series. In Metal Gear Solid, he voices Roy Campbell. We'll be hearing his voice a few more times throughout the game, I imagine, since he voices other characters as well. But for now, let's head back down into the dungeon. There's a few more doors and such to clear, so we'll clear up the first level, and then we'll call it from there. Start by clubbing this zombie with my club. Yeah, you can see switching weapons to deal with the undead can be a bit tedious. I'm doing it mostly to show it off. There are better clubs in the game, which once we get our hands on one, we'll probably need it later. There's going to be a whole area later on where we're going to have to take on an army of skeletons. Because quests are randomized. We got our first quest, the Butcher, from the Wounded Townsman, but sometimes that Wounded Townsman won't be there. And if he's not there, you won't get the Butcher quest. There's an eerie shrine. I'll check that out in a second. Another zombie. Switch to my club. There we go. Ooh, one of them dropped an axe. Now, an axe could be really good on a warrior. You won't be able to use your shield with an axe. You can see I put my buckler in my inventory. But an axe, you want to switch weapons to deal with the undead, since an axe is effective against both living and undead enemies. And it does a lot of damage, too. So for now, we'll use this axe and chop up some enemies. Find another staff. Found a staff of healing and a staff of holy bolt. Now, healing is obvious enough. Holy bolt is a spell that will shoot a blue energy blast that will damage only undead targets. So it would only work on skeletons and zombies. But in multiplayer, it could be useful if you're casting it, since friendly fire is a thing in Diablo, and a miss won't hurt your teammates because they're not undead. Cap. Chop up a few more of these fallen ones. Take the gold he dropped. We're going to save at any time. I'm going to save before activating the Eerie Shrine. Knowledge and wisdom at the cost of self. As you can see, if I check my stats, my magic stat went up to 12. That's because... that's what the effect of the Eerie Shrine is. It raised my magical stat. A weapon I really want to find hasn't dropped yet, but I'm sure I'll get one. If I don't get one, I can always buy one from Griswold. Alright, let's open the chest. Magical dagger in it. You can tell when an item is magical when the text for it is blue. You'll see all the other items I have white text, but the dagger has blue text indicating that there's a magical effect on it. There's a lot of skeletons in here, but here's where we're going to use one of the more classic Diablo 1 tricks. The enemies can't swarm me if I stand here in the doorway and just swing my axe. You can see most of them come in, but only one can fight me at a time. This trick will be extremely useful in some of the later levels, when you're dealing with large groups of enemies and such. There's another trick I can show off too once we get to it. Let's see. Well, I got magic 12 now. I think what I'll do is I'll put the rest of the points into magic, bring it up to 17. There's a sacred shrine here. Let's save again. Energy comes at the cost of wisdom. I forget what the effect of that is. Yeah, I don't remember. Doesn't look like my stats have changed. Can't remember what that one does. Oh well. Looks like my axe is a durability warning for the axe has appeared, and there's the weapon I was thinking of, a short bow, but I have no inventory space for it.
I gotta pawn some of this stuff.
Yeah, your warrior or other character will comment when you've got too much inventory to pick up stuff. I want this bow though, so I'm gonna have to come back for it. So I'm gonna return to town, sell some items, and come back. Back in town selling items, you'll see here the dagger was a bronze dagger of piercing. You can see it's actually worth quite a bit to Griswold, so I'm going to sell it to him for 400 25 gold. I'll sell the club. I can get a better weapon later. Repair the cape, but not the staves. I'm going to sell these to Adria. But you see, now that I have 17 magic, I could use the Staff of Healing if I wanted to. But we're going to sell it, and I'm also going to buy something else from Adria that's going to be much more useful later until I can learn this as a spell. So we're going to head over to Adria next.
I sense a soul in search of answers.
Sell the Staff of Holy Bolt and the Staff of Healing. And with that gold, we're going to buy a Scroll of Town Portal. Now, this item is going to help us a lot, because with these, I can create a portal that will bring me back to Tristram no matter where I am in the dungeon. And the portal will remain open until I step back through it to pick up where I left off. And the portal, I'll show it off real quick, will open right here. I'll have Darquan stand in the exact spot where it'll open, and I can walk into town and do all my business. And my business in town is concluded, so I'm heading back into the dungeon to grab that bow I left behind. Alright, we're back, and you can see I have the bow in my inventory now. I'm going to want to hang on to a bow, because I'm going to need one later. It's one of the reasons I raised my dexterity, is because I wanted to wield a bow for an upcoming battle, which we're going to do in the next part. Kill some of these enemies. Try the big chest. It's got some gold in it. Break some barrels to see what's in them. Found a mana potion, which doesn't help me right now because I have no spells to cast. Because when you learn spells, they cost your mana to use them. Right now I have 17 mana because the Eerie Shrine gave me some magic points, and I got some when I put my stat points into magic. Like I said, this character isn't going to be too heavily focused on magic, but I'm going to want a few spells like healing, holy bolts, and maybe a ranged attack or two. Alright, through the door. Find another scavenger. I sold the club and the axe back in town, so I'll just have to deal with the zombies using my sword. Yeah, the zombies here aren't too dangerous, but there's a special type of zombie in the game that I may or may not encounter that can negatively affect your stats in a pretty nasty way. Now, the reason I say I may or may not encounter those zombies is because the whole game is actually randomly generated. Every time you play the game, the dungeon layout will be different, as will some of the enemies you encounter. And the first level is usually pretty straightforward. The kinds of enemies you fight are usually the skeletons, zombies, fallen ones, and scavengers. But later levels, the enemy layout can change depending on how the game decides to randomly generate them. What's a religious shrine do? Time cannot diminish the power of steel, so it repairs all my items. So it repaired the bows I collected, as well as the other items in my inventory. This includes my equipment as well. So let's press on. One of these skeletons dropped me a club. So I can switch to this club if I want to fight more undead enemies. Like the saber, I'm hoping to find a higher quality club. You'll see under skeleton it says they're immune to magic. Once you kill a certain number of enemies, the game will give you more information about the enemies. Like it'll tell you stuff like how many you've killed and what kind of magic they're resistant or immune to. Because magical damage is... how do I describe it? It's basically two spells in the game that do magic damage. One is called Blood Star. It shoots this red energy blast. And the other is Bone Spirit. It summons a crazy-looking ghost to fly around and hit your enemies. But if they're immune to magic, those spells obviously won't hurt them. Holy Bolt, of course, does a unique form of damage with magic that only affects like skeletons and zombies and such. There is another character that Holy Bolt works on, but we won't have to worry too much about that, and that would be a big spoiler, so I won't bring it up yet. Let's see, there's a special magic mace here. My inventory's full, so I can't pick up that buckler, but I can use the Scroll of Town Portal here and return to town. The mace that I got from there has been identified by Kane as a mace of quality. It adds 1 point to damage, and since my saber already does 1 to 8, I'm going to switch to the mace of quality as my main weapon now, and sell the rest. I also decided to sell my mana potions to Adria, since I have no use for them, and the gold would be helpful right now. So let's back through the town portal. I bought another scroll from Adria as well. Let's pick up that buckler. You'll pretty much want to pick up most items you find and sell them in town, even if they don't have any magical effects, since some of the higher-end armors and such will be worth quite a bit. And you'll need all the gold you want for repairs, and if you find a really good piece of equipment for sale from Griswold, or a magic spell book you want to buy from Adria. But I think that's the whole of level 1 complete. I'm gonna check up here. I think there's a part of the map I missed. Yeah, it's up here. Like I said, we're gonna wrap up by finishing up the first floor of the dungeon, level 1. And there are 16 levels in total. Ooh, I can show this off. I'm gonna equip one of the bows I have, and I'll show off what you can do with them. Because there's a gate here, you can stay on the other side and shoot arrows through the gate to hit enemies, which is what I'm doing here. I also leveled up again. Hello. Alright, let's see. I'll put the points into dexterity because I want to use this bow. You'll see why. Not in this part, but in the next part, this bow is going to be extremely important. You can see the warrior's not too bad with the bow. The rogue is way better. The bow is her primary weapon. She can shoot it a lot faster, and she starts at high dexterity, so her bow would be way more effective. For now, I'm going to switch back to my mace and buckler. Apparently this buckler has more durability than the one I started with. Might switch over to that one. Unless I can find a better shield later. I think there's only one or two more rooms left. I got another fallen one. A couple of zombies, but I got the Mace of Quality, so they won't be too tough. Another mana potion down here. Again, with no spells, I have no use for this yet, so I can always just sell it. That takes care of the whole floor, so that'll be the end of this part. In the next part, we're going to head down into level 2, where we're going to try out some new weapons. We'll see if we can find some more items we can use, like magical books that we could read with my 17 magic. And we'll also take on the butcher that the dying townsman told us about. So, yeah, that'll be in the next part. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next video.